Let's all go to the lobby, lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the.
What is up, Brewskis? I first of all want to apologize.
Why?
Because we're very late.
Oh.
on this not so sober October final One Reel In horror special of the year. However, I like to go by the phrase better late than never.
Damn right.
And so that's why we're here. So, you know, it's still fall.
Yeah.
You can still be spooky after October.
Hey, man, they put horror movies out in July. So,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, does it?
No.
I didn't think so. That being said, we are here to watch The Return of the Living Dead, the very own 1985 feature film. With me, as always, is Marco Dupa.
What's up, y'all?
Marco, can you give us a rundown of what we have to drink today, since you were so kind as to pick it up?
Of course. This is the Way That We Rust, an Imperial Stout from Tactical Brewing.
Tactical.
They do not have a cold read, unfortunately for you, sir.
There are some ingredients, though.
Yes. Do you want to run those off?
Yeah, do it.
Conditioned on Tahitian vanilla beans,
Wow.
Ecuadorian vanilla beans, Ghana cocoa nibs, Ecuadorian cocoa nibs, and roasted pecans. Or pecans, if you're, you know what. 12.5% ABV.
I don't know if I know what.
I'll let the people decide. I'll let them think on that. What did he mean by that?
Yeah.
I say pecans.
Yeah.
Or pecans. You're supposed to say pecan.
I say pecan.
So you're one of them.
I guess I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What do Southern people say? Pecan, right?
I think they
Pecan
say
pie.
pecan.
Pecan,
Yeah, pecan
pie.
pie.
Yeah.
Pecans.
That's probably why I say pecan.
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 Some pecans.
It sounds fancy.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
pecan does sound trashy.
Pecan.
Sorry, maybe I have this all wrong. Maybe I'm the garbage.
Maybe you're the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna crack this open. And
Okay.
get the
Yeah. Let's do that. It's a 12.5%.
12.5. Yes, sir.
12.5% ABV. So
12.5.
we are wrapping up the not so sober October the correct way.
Can we also say before we get rolling that this right here, if you're listening, the wax top, if you're watching, obviously you can see what I'm doing.
Sure.
This was incredibly unnecessary.
Well, to add insult to injury here, it could be very real injury because we both slipped our knives a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to put such a thick glob of the wax on it, on top of it not being a cork.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah. What you mean? Very, very imperfect system. You see, when you're gonna do the wax top, you've got to get it down to a science.
Sure.
Maker's Mark and all the other
of
big,
course.
famous.
The first one you think of, right?
Yeah.
Maker's Mark.
And it's down to a science.
They have the little strip. You just strip it off. It feels it's like a cheese. You know the little
like laughing cow,
the mini cheese wheels you got there. You just
That's the way that you do it.
It's great. Yeah.
You don't dip the tip into a huge glob of wax.
They overdip the tip.
Way overdid it.
Especially, and the disappointment we had when it was revealed that it was just a simple bottle cap.
Just a bottle cap.
I mean, I hate to start negative here, folks, but we
not-
were a little disappointed, guys.
Sorry, guys.
You know, we respect you. Hopefully the beer is tasty and worth it. Let's find out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, I'm kidding.
I will say the beer is tasty.
That's pretty good. Actually.
That tastes like chalky milk.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All those
The nibs.
foreign nibs.
The nib. I love a good nib.
Love a good foreign nib.
Just to be safe, I'm going to take a Lactaid because chocolate makes me think it has milk in it.
Yeah, it's probably good. I mean, it tastes like milk chocolate.
It does. Let's not mess around.
All right.
But all that being said, we are here for one reason and one reason alone. And that is The Return of the Living Dead. 1985, directed by Dan O'Bannon. And, I mean, featuring a lot of a lot of young punks. A lot of young punks at the time. Mm-hmm. A couple of old timers. Just to give you a little brief kiss of an idea of what this movie was all about. Essentially, this group of youthful punks are cruising around looking for a party. One of them is a bit of a yuppie, I would say.
Yeah.
Two of them actually are kind of more, or I'd say maybe more like three.
Yeah.
About three of them are yuppies.
You get your stereotypical group of young teens.
Yeah. And the boyfriend of one of them just got a new job, to everyone's chagrin.
Yeah. Job, what a dick.
Yeah, it sucks. But he's working at a medical supply warehouse where they just happen to be housing, secretly housing these top secret corpses that are apparently from the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Or the true story that inspired the movie, The Night of the Living Dead. It's very self-referential.
The story that inspired... Hey, calm down.
The Night of the Living Dead. So these corpses have been in there since, I think they said 1969.
Yeah.
And that the movie wasn't 100% accurate, so that George Romero didn't get sued by the government.
Right.
But they, through some clerical error, this company ended up getting the shipments of corpses in these containers of undead. And so, of course, the youngster who's on his first day of the job, his direct manager decides to show him these corpses, and they end up, the manager himself ends up slapping it to say, "Yeah, these things ain't gonna bust out or anything like that," and immediately, all the stuff comes out.
Nice dig at the of the government, U.S. Army, rather.
Yes. And so,
watch from afar.
From there, both the manager and the youngster are infected by this mist of some sort. The undead creature inside is missing now, and suddenly everything in that building that was once dead, because they have these corpses and have dogs and like the display of butterflies that are pinned. Everything starts coming to life after that happens. So clearly we can infer whatever chemicals in that infected everything in the area in that building to reanimate. They freak out. They start hearing banging from the room that had a corpse in it formerly. They let the corpse out to try to kill it via rules of Night of the Living Dead, which is destroy the brain. And that doesn't work, my friends. So they freak out.
Now here we are.
Yeah.
Starting to see the first changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we start to unearth the truth of what zombies actually are, which are completely, like, not indestructible, but unkillable.
Yeah.
Like he describes later on that if you were to chop them up in little pieces, the little pieces will continue to try to kill you.
Yeah.
So, that being said, they chop up the corpse alongside the owner of that company, who they call to come in, because they're afraid of calling the army, because they don't want it to be unveiled that they've been holding these top secret corpses this entire time.
Yeah.
They don't want to get in trouble. And the same thing with the cops. They don't want to call the cops because the cops will, they could shut down the place, and they're worried about the company itself at this point.
Because at this point they don't know. Well, they just think that, the only thing that's happened so far is like the corpses have been reanimated in just their office.
Right. So
they're like, this is a containment thing.
We can cover it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going to cover this up.
They're more concerned with the company's reputation than anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna speed through now.
Okay.
I'm gonna speed through, but this is the intro here. So spoiler alert moving forward.
Yep.
what happens next is essentially they go to the next door mortuary where they talk to the mortician, and because he's a friend, they ask him, hey, can we burn this body? They don't say it's a body at first, but then they unveil that it's a reanimated body. And of course the guy's like, what the hell's going on? They explain what happens. They just say, look, you got to trust us. We got to kill this thing this way by burning it. We have to cremate it. That's the only way to actually kill it, get rid of it. Eventually they do. But doing that ends up allowing the chemicals and essence of the reanimated corpse to go into the atmosphere and start raining down on everyone, including our young punks who are waiting outside trying to look for their friend, and what just so happens to be a cemetery right next door. So, as you might assume, the corpses are reanimated from the cemetery. They start coming out, but they're also kind of smart.
Yeah.
And they're, unlike other shambling undead, they can talk. They're clearly focused on one thing, and that's brains. So I'd like to credit this movie for being the inspiration for whenever you hear a zombie go, brains.
Definitely.
Yeah, unless there's like some, 1960s or 50s B movie where they say brains a lot. But,
Yeah.
I mean, this is my direct connection to knowing that zombies say brains.
Yeah.
And want to eat your brains specifically. Anyway, so long story short, our gang of punks gets slaughtered and gets cut off one by one as they try to get to safety. They meet up eventually with their friend, who we find out now, alongside his manager, is infected with whatever chemicals caused the reanimation to happen. They are slowly turning into zombies themselves. Meanwhile, trying to fend off all the onslaught of zombies coming from the outside from the cemetery. They call for help. The help comes, gets killed, reanimated. Copy, paste. Keeps happening. The cops come, they get killed too. More cops come, they get killed too. So we're in a very desperate situation at this point. Some of our heroes are separated, and but some are able to get to the phone line in the basement of the chemical company and are able to reach out to the phone number to the army that was on the original canisters that the original undead guy came out of. They call them, and the army, their solution is just to literally drop a nuke.
In the middle of the United States.
Yeah, in the middle of the
Louisville,
U.S. In what is it, Kentucky,
Yeah.
right? In Louisville.
Louisville.
So essentially, we end with all of our heroes dead.
Yeah.
But because they blew them up, it's essentially them cremating them.
Yep.
So their essence goes into the atmosphere. And we can assume that the rest of the U.S., at very least, is now doomed.
Yes.
To the same fate.
They imply that they have created the apocalypse
Right.
with this.
So that is 1985's The Return of the Living Dead. I only look because I colloquially call it Return of the Living Dead, but it is The Return of the Living Dead.
Of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess off the top, we should share that this isn't our first time watching
No.
The Return of the Living Dead. I'd go as far as saying it's one of my favorite zombie movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
So, I feel like it was a good, safe bet, excuse me, for us to cap off the season that we love so much.
Yes.
Of the spookies. But that being said, as we have to on every episode, what are some things that you didn't like about this movie upon rewatch? Because it's definitely been, I think, about 2 years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I I won't say they were negative, but I did notice some new things upon rewatch again.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say because I think that this movie is like perfect.
Yeah.
So, a nip. I mean, I the first thing that comes to mind is like some of the acting. All of the acting is terrible.
I don't think all of it is.
I think the only people who are convincing are the guy who runs the morgue. He's great.
Yeah.
Loved him.
Ernie. Don Calfa.
I think he's fantastic.
His name, yeah.
The Juana Man is in this, and he's great. Okay, all right. I'll take that back. There are some good performances.
Yeah.
I think Freddie and no, not Bert, but
Frank.
Well, I just realized there's Ernie and there's Bert.
There's Bert and Ernie, yeah. Who interact often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're friends, actually. They've been friends for 25 years,
Yeah.
as they say multiple times, Ernie and Bert. I literally just put that together. I feel like a jackass.
No, I heard them say it, and I was like, are you doing something there?
Frank and
Freddie?
and Freddie, both of them, they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad. They're bad, but the thing is, even that being a nitpick is like they're bad in the best way.
But
though.
it works.
It does.
Is my thing.
It does. That's why, like, I'm grasping at straws here for nitpicks.
Yeah.
What do you got? Maybe I could piggyback off of that.
I mean, and again, this is only a nitpick, and I say that with an like underlined, bold, highlighted. Okay, only a nitpick. I think that the character of Trash in 2023 is a bit exploited. Because, like, I get it. Like, I get what we're trying to do with her character, and I think it's really cool and actually, like, kind of edgy even for 2023. But the fact that she's naked the entire time,
The whole time.
even as a zombie,
Yeah.
is like
The whole time.
but that's the thing, like, it goes from exploitive and feeling gross to, I feel like, going over the top.
She takes her clothes off, and they're like, Trash is, he says, get some light over here.
Some light over here.
Trash is taking her clothes off again.
Which I can't help but feel like is a commentary on the film itself, right? Like,
I think the whole thing is meta to the point of, like, you have to think about, like, every line and every scene could be a commentary on something else, or it could just be a silly thing that's happening in the movie. It's hard to say.
sure.
Because all of the stuff in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie are a send-up of zombie movies before The Return. Like,
Yeah.
all of it is like a parody or a send-up.
Everything especially like Frank is talking about is,
Yeah.
it feels, it's funny because I feel like all of the older actors, including Frank and Bert, are from like the Night of the Living Dead movie, like plucked out from that.
Yeah.
And placed into the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it feels like they're in different movies, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like they add a sort of like campiness, but also like a gravitas to it in a weird way.
Yeah, they add like a been here before kind of
Like
deal.
a Twilight Zone kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it feels like they'd be naturals in like black and white.
Yeah.
You know?
They kind of take control of the situation in a way that's like they would be, they would just be ready to go in any of these situations.
Yeah.
Like, you put them back in those, and they would be the ones boarding up the house faster.
Right.
And like,
well, and the relationship specific, like, I'm getting into my pluses here, but I think that, because you're right, a lot of the acting is bad. It's over the top, and it sometimes is like out of place. And this movie, I think for a lot of people, I'm not even going to say a nitpick for me, but I feel like for a lot of people will have them like, you know, like on uneasy footing as to what the tone should be. Because I, for one, feel like the horror elements of this movie work really well, but so do all of the comedic elements of it.
yeah.
So there's a lot of times where you don't know if you should be laughing at this or if you should be horrified by it.
I think if you go into it knowing that it's like a dark comedy, I don't think you can really mistake the tone. But if you just watched it randomly thinking you're watching a serious
Yeah.
horror movie.
You could be like, oh, that sucks. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And turn it off.
And then some things would happen. And you're like, well, that was pretty good. Like when Trash comes back,
Yeah.
she's genuinely frightening.
Sure. Yeah.
And like the way that they, the effects that they use, or I guess the practical makeup that they use on her when she bites the homeless.
Yeah.
Her mouth is like
Huge.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it's awesome. She could be the villain of a movie, of a horror movie herself.
Yeah.
I do see what you're saying about her character. Looking at it through a 2023 lens it's like, all right, I mean, what really even is the point of her character doing what she does in the movie? But then again, none of it really, they're all just caricatures.
Sure,
so like I think that's also part of the point, is like they're not good characters, but they're all supposed to just be, the movie itself is like stock character.
Sure.
Which is like, it's a very deftly done, or I shouldn't say deftly, it's not deft, but it is smartly done movie, because it's not done with any kind of like nuance or anything.
Brains.
It's got brains. And so each one of the characters is like, you know, here's your yuppie characters, here's your young punks,
Yeah.
you know, here's the smart character, but then like they all just kind of eat it at the end. Like,
well,
it doesn't, I think that's kind of also the point, is like it doesn't really matter, they're all just gonna eat it.
Yeah, and I feel like also what's conflicting for me in it is that, yes, you're right, a lot of the characters are caricatures. I'd say the vast majority of them are. But I feel like the relationships that they have are really well done. And at least for me, and you know, this is something that I thought about upon like first watch and multiple watches since then, and even this one, is that like I care about like some of these characters.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
And like I feel a sense of like dread towards the end of this movie when I know they're all gonna bite it.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen. Like they make me care enough, and they put these characters through enough that I'm like, come on, like give them a chance. Let them make it. You know, like I'm rooting for them. It's not like a slasher where you're like, all these scenes suck. You know, I hope they all die.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun through the vast majority of it, but I find myself conflicted, especially towards the end when I know how this is all gonna end up. That I'm like, I'm actually like, I feel bad a little bit, but it never overwhelms in a way that like a movie like Hereditary would, where it's like, this is dread. This movie's just dread.
Yeah.
You should feel dread, and that's it. You know. Instead, it's like it's that mixed with, based on the soundtrack alone, is like we're here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And never lose sight of that. This is fun. This is a fun time, but I feel like they did underline it with some, and I think this is what's missing in a lot of B horror movies, is an undercurrent of like good character development and good relationships within those characters.
Yeah.
You know, they make you, they are caricatures, but they are very easily identified. So that makes it so you don't need to spend a lot of time with these characters necessarily to know who they are.
Right.
And to start caring about them.
Yeah.
Because you've seen what happens to those that don't make it, and it's horrific.
Right.
And you start feeling this oppression of this horde of unkillable monsters, and you want them inherently to make it.
Yeah.
Because none of them are so bad, I feel, that you're just like, I hope you die.
Yeah. No.
You know?
No.
Like,
there's no one character that
No.
Like, they're and
they're punks. They have shitty attitudes. But they're kids, and they're, you know, like they're out to have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, there's some slasher movies or horror movies where somebody's like so bad that you're like, when they die, you're like, yes, finally, that person deserved to go.
We were just talking about off mics, Tarantino in Dusk Till Dawn. You know, like that's a character that you're like, yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah, when he finally goes, you're like, yeah, he deserved that.
Sure.
It was bound to happen, and it should have happened.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be the only, and it's not even a nitpick. I feel like it's just something that people who aren't kind of attuned to these kind of movies may point to as like a weakness
Yeah.
or like a flaw.
I don't know how if you can find any flaws in this movie. I don't know. I think, you know, what we do on here is we try to intellectualize these things.
Sure.
We try to like
Break
go
it
over them
apart.
with a fine tooth comb and everything.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of the day, like this movie, I feel like it's like, I don't know. It's like if you can actually you can nitpick and you can pick apart any movie really.
Sure.
But like,
well, there's technical elements to it that like didn't age so well.
yeah,
you know?
that's. I mean, I guess that's
It's
another.
fine,
that could
but-
be. You could look at that as like a nitpick. There are some stuff in the movie where you're like, that doesn't look as good, but there are some stuff that looks great.
Great. Yeah. Okay. I'm done with the nitpicks. If
Yeah,
you are.
yeah, fuck it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
It's-
Let's just get into. 'cause
Just so
there's
you guys
much to
know,
love about
exactly.
this.
Just so you guys know, it was hard to do the nitpicks.
Yeah.
If that's not clear. So moving into, you know, what makes this movie special, and I think you nailed it on the head already, which is the practical effects. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they have aged flawlessly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the corpse woman that they bring in looks so
Looks
creepy
amazing.
and gross.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
The muck monster, the original zombie,
Yeah, the tar man.
the tar man, yeah.
Tar man is easily one of the
Iconic.
most iconic
Zombies.
Yeah, I mean, just like vaults into the top 5
Yeah.
as soon as he's on screen.
Yeah,
the way that
incredible.
he moves, the more brains. Like
Yeah.
I mean, everything. Like,
His bulging eyes.
and they know it too because there's multiple times where there's just like a huge close up on it.
Yeah.
And it's like they know
This
they
looks good.
They designed this and they were like, look at him.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we need him on screen as much as we can.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, man, I would like to watch a whole movie of the Tar Man just going around killing people.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's fantastic.
I mean,
he bites he bites the first guy's head, and he's just like brains, and he bites it like a coconut.
Yeah, like an apple.
Just
More brains.
brains. Oh,
Yeah.
he's fantastic.
Yeah, his shambling and kind of gooiness.
The
shoulders.
yeah,
It's all in the
so
shoulders.
It's all on the shoulders.
Yeah. It's very creepy.
Yeah,
very
just because
creepy.
he's dead doesn't mean he has to move like that, but he does.
He does.
I'm like, this guy's silky.
Yeah. Silky smooth.
He got that He got game.
He got that ooey gooey.
Got that ooey gooey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Trash, when she, like I mentioned it before, but when she becomes a zombie, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
Just the overwhelming horde of the zombies, the fact that like every time more help comes and they just get overwhelmed immediately is something that I thought was really fun that they did, because it's like, it's really, the movie is really telling you like they're not getting out.
No, there's no way.
There's no help coming, and
Yeah.
if help does come, they're dead too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not happening. So
Yeah. Well, and that's underlined by the ending, you know, like there's no saving them.
Yeah.
Their salvation is an atomic bomb.
yeah,
You know?
and even that didn't.
No. They are still doomed.
Yeah, so
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's wicked, man.
yeah, watching it for the first time, I was left so conflicted because I'm like, that was a great time. Also is very dark.
Yeah, it ends in a way where you're like, oh, that was
Shit.
the end of the world.
Yeah, like, oh shit.
Which I don't remember part 2 and part 3, but I would like to rewatch those. I know they're not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already seen like reviews, and I've seen people say like, they should have just left it alone. But I
Yeah,
do want to
yeah.
see I do want to rewatch part 2 and part 3.
See where they take it.
Yeah.
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 Because I know that they get into like a more suburb or a more urban area. I think they go to I think there's like zombies in the city and stuff like that.
Sure.
I vaguely remember the details of 2 and 3.
I haven't seen any other subsequent movies, but
Yeah, I do remember watching them when I was a kid, and yeah, but this one obviously this is the one. This is the one that like stands out above
yeah.
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. There's just
I mean, the soundtrack's awesome.
soundtrack's great.
Yeah, it's a good sampling of 80s punk
Yeah.
at the time, and
Even the score that comes back in every time
Yeah.
that you know like something bad is about to happen or is happening. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and like I said, I think, again, the relationships that these characters have, even if they're very shallow characters, I feel like they're strong enough to propel the plot and to make you care.
Yeah.
When none of them make it out of this thing,
Yeah.
you know?
The intelligence of the zombies is really fun, because this is, as far as I know, this was the first time that they were like, I mean, George Romero explored that in his
Later.
movies, but not like to this degree until later.
Sure.
They were like, these zombies have one thing on their mind, and that's mind.
that's them brains.
They just want more brains.
Yeah.
And they'll stop at nothing to get it. And to that point, like, they use they're sneaky, they're deceitful.
Yeah.
You know? They're kind of funny. The tar man uses like physics to get the door open.
Yeah.
Like,
he uses a pulley system.
what's another thing? And he just starts cranking it, and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm getting this door open.
Listen,
I
I got brains and I need some more.
Using everything that I learned in school to get this door open.
Yeah. Yeah.
The iconic lines from the zombies, send more paramedics. I mean, I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just be like, send more paramedics to myself. It's so funny. It's so like, it just works so well within the context of the movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, what an idea to put, what a
Sure.
thing to put in the movie.
Sure.
It's just so good. So good.
Yeah.
And then they do it again, and it works again.
It works
And it's like,
again. Send more cops.
It's like, it just works again.
Yeah.
They could have gone back to that joke 5 times,
Yeah.
and I would have been like, yeah, it's
Send
awesome.
more soldiers.
just keep escalating.
Yeah.
Send the president.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, it works every time.
I mean, they essentially hint at that at the end.
They do.
That the
yeah.
president's going to be visiting the bomb site, apparently.
Which is a really funny, maybe a nitpicky dumb thing to put into the end, where like, why would he now visit the site of an atomic bomb? Like, because they say he was going to visit Louisville, and they're like, we like, I know he was going to visit. You know, he's still gonna. It's fine. And it's like, what do you mean it's fine? There's going to be a hole in the middle of the country.
They'll explain it away somehow.
Yeah, I thought that was really probably not a necessary thing. But again,
Well, I think it underlines the entire like idea of the movie, which is very anti-establishment.
yeah,
It is so untrusting of the government, of the police, of the establishment.
do they hesitate to call the cops? Mostly because they don't trust the cops.
Yeah, they're afraid of the cops.
There's a point where one of the punks is like, we can't call the cops. They're just going to kick our ass.
Yeah, and then on
Which is
top of
awesome.
that, the other fear that keeps them from calling the cops is the company's best interest.
Yeah.
So it's like also a sort of anti-capitalist movie too.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Like the end of the world happened because like
they were afraid that their stock shares would go down a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And it could have all been curtailed if once they killed the first undead guy again, or like stopped him, chopped him up, they called the authorities.
Yeah, should have called the number on the thing immediately.
Those 2 other guys would have been dead.
Yeah.
Already. It's fine. Whatever.
That's what it is.
Is what it is.
And they would have known that too. They would have
that's
burned
it.
them up, and that would have been it for them.
Yeah.
No, they definitely could have made it out without the distrust of local and federal government.
Yeah.
And their capitalistic interests.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah. It is a very punk movie. It's one of the most punk movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. And even when it's very punk, and it even makes fun of punk culture.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Which I think is even more punk to be like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
And like we have a couple of characters to say like we get
Which
it.
is so smart, because any punk watching this movie, I can gather the idea that at the time watching this, they'd be like, fuck this movie.
Yeah.
They're making fun of us.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's so tongue in cheek and like it knows what it's doing, I feel like makes it work.
Yeah.
In a way that if it was either too self-serious or too parodying of punk culture, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
But I feel like the story itself is within itself really punk.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, it works.
I think if you if you watch it and you're like understanding the ethos of it, the idea that they're trying to get across, that you'll I think you'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you're being made fun of in a lighthearted way, and like the real point of the movie kind of, if you get it, like outshines.
Yeah. Smacks you in the face by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I just want to underline, I think the best thing I can say about the movie is that it does both dread and comedy really well. Mm-hmm. I feel like these are, I mean, second maybe only to the 28 Days Later zombies. The zombies I fear the most.
They're legitimately frightening.
The thing that always gets me about them, and also like the Deadites, is that they're smart enough to talk to you.
Yeah.
And especially if you know the zombie, the formerly alive human, they can fuck with your mind.
Yeah.
And I thought like one really like poignant scene towards the end was when the mortician was there with the yuppie girl.
Yeah.
And he pulls out his gun and points it to her head.
Yeah.
Because he knew that her former boyfriend was coming up to kill them.
Right.
And he'd rather kill her
Yeah.
than have her get killed by the zombie.
Right.
Get eaten alive.
I mean, he was getting in one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I just the way that scene worked out, where he was talking to her and saying like, "You're making me hurt myself."
Yeah.
To try to get to her, like it evoked, like that scene in itself is completely horrific. There's no comedy to that at all.
Yeah, it's very fucked up.
Yeah,
Very scary. And it's also underlined by the fact that Frank had the wherewithal and the I guess awareness or self-awareness to be like, I'm a monster now. My life is over.
Yeah.
And instead of attacking someone or trying to like preserve whatever existence this is, like I'm a monster. I'm dead. And he kills himself.
Yeah.
So it underlines the fact that like there's
an ability to like self-control in a way.
Yeah. There's a consciousness of it where like most of them, and I guess maybe that's kind of, maybe we may be overthinking this, or maybe this is what Dan O'Bannon was trying to get across.
Yeah.
Like, there is a point to the fact that like most of them woke up and their first thought was self-preservation.
I need to stop because the entire idea behind them wanting brains is that apparently that's the only thing that drives them, that helps them stop hurting when they're dead.
Yeah, and even that is such an interesting idea that doesn't, I don't know how often that gets explored in other movies. Like that's such an interesting idea that like they're not just monsters trying to kill people. There is a motivation behind what they're doing.
They're in pain. They're in constant pain.
Yeah.
Very smartly actually, early on they talk about how painful the process of death is on the body.
Such a great thing to set up.
Right. And so when we see our two characters who have been infected by this chemical start to go through the process of death, as they're still conscious.
Smart to explain what rigor mortis is,
sure,
then bring it back later.
Yes.
For the layman.
This movie is full of great setups.
Yeah.
Great setups and payoffs.
Yeah.
It's full of it. But yeah, so with that completely pays off. I can't help but feel like this may be a commentary on like drugs as well. And maybe that's just because we watched Talk to Me recently.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is something underlying there where it's like the existence of life in itself is painful.
Yeah.
Some people try to find the most destructive thing to quell that pain, even if it hurts other people.
Right.
Whereas others can be selfless and try to, not outwardly inflict that pain on others. So a character like Frank was able to not be overcome by that urge to go after others because he's in pain.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
you know.
I didn't really think about that, but yeah, that's an interesting read on that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because they're like fiends. You know,
Yeah.
they need brains. Brains. That's all they're thinking about.
Brains.
Yeah. And they mentioned PCP earlier on.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that. That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, it definitely in the long line of zombie movies that are trying to make a point, trying to say something with their subject matter, using zombies as a metaphor, which is always good.
Of course.
Zombies are like the easiest thing to just we'll use these things as a placeholder for everything.
Whatever.
else. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see it even now if you're still watching something like The Walking Dead. You know, like the zombies aren't the real enemy. The real enemy is the
We're the
people.
Walking Dead, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like even that, as simple and as dumb as the idea is for that TV show,
yeah.
like they're using the walkers or the zombies as a metaphor for something else, and they've been doing it ever since the first.
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. So great stuff.
Yeah.
Great
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And I really appreciate this version of zombiedom.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've said it before. I think I might have even said it on the podcast that like how much I love this movie. You know, we're trying to find flaws in it, nitpicks and stuff.
Yeah.
I really, at the end of the day, I think it's a perfect movie. I really do. I really think it's like the perfect 80s movie.
It's funny you say that because that's the first thing I thought once we got to the credits. I was like, this is a perfect movie.
Yeah, it's
it whatever it sets out to do, it does. And
Yeah.
it excels at it, you know.
front to back. It starts and it's already setting up dread. It's
Yeah.
already planting seeds in the movie.
The third step.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
that. And like you said, every setup gets paid off.
Yeah.
Nothing, no stone gets unturned.
Right.
And then the end is the perfect, like, no questions asked. Like this, you know, it's like not one of those stupid, like, the movie ends, but then, like, you know, a hand comes out of
The end? Question mark?
Yeah, no stupid shit like that. It is. You know exactly what's about to happen because you just saw it on a smaller scale.
Which to me is the kind of the most punk thing about it is it's like everyone's dead. Fuck you.
Right.
You know, like that's
Right.
That's
There's
what
no
it
fucking
is.
hope.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
And it ends on a fun rock song.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other things that I liked about it.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
I agree. I don't want to add any more because I just want, if people haven't watched the movie yet, I just want you to watch it for yourself, even if it's been ruined for you in this podcast.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Return of the Living Dead and you're a fan of zombie movies, send-ups of zombie movies,
Sure.
send-ups of horror movies, if
Yeah.
you like parodies and intellectualization of movies like Scream or something like that. It's goofy and silly and,
Yeah.
and weird and punk and very 80s, and the
Dark
aesthetics of it are
comedies.
very 80s, and it's very timely. So like, you know, like with Trash's character, it's like, you know, you can't really view her through the lens of 2023. If you do, you will come away from it with something sort of like a, you know, that was kind of gross, but the idea of it, the exploitation, I think, is also the idea.
It totally is. And I want to say, too, I think what they do with her is actually interesting. Because, first of all, and this is after watching, like, plenty of 60s and 70s movies where women do get naked, but it's usually not from their own accord. Yeah. So the fact that she took off her own clothes and danced around on her own accord is important to note.
Yeah.
And kind of empowering in itself.
Yeah. She wanted to do it.
And also the fact that she at first can be an object of lust, but then becomes an object of terror by the end of it, I think is an interesting thing to do with her character.
And you also kind of feel sorry for her, too, because before she even becomes a zombie, like, there's the moment where, like, you know, she's very humanized when the rain starts falling and it's like burning their skin and stuff, and there's that genuine fear
Yeah.
for her and from her in the movie
Yeah.
where she's like genuinely afraid, and she becomes very, because when you first encounter her character, like she's you know, she's
Abrasive. And
yeah, and you know, weird and like like very gothic and like I love the dead.
I love to think of death.
Yeah, and she's, you know, she wants to hook up with homeboy. I forgot his name. The leader punk. Suicide. That's right. Suicide. Yeah, she's spooky Suicide. And then that comes back.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm spooky. Like, yeah, you're spooky.
Right, but he is offended by hearing that.
Yeah, he is. He's offended by that. And his whole thing is like, there's a point to all this,
Yeah.
you know.
This isn't a
even
costume.
That's played up as a joke.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of poignant where he's like, you know, you guys don't take me seriously. Like, he's like a sensitive guy. Where
Yeah.
he's like, fuck you guys, man.
Yeah.
You take advantage of me. You only call me when you fucking
need a ride.
And I'm, you know, I'm more than this.
Yeah.
And then he gets his fucking brains ate,
It's true. Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
So
No one's safe.
no one's safe.
All right.
fantastic.
Well, with that being said, Marco, what would you give this movie out of 6 bottle caps?
I give it a 6 bottle.
I can't agree more. This is easily a 6 out of 6 bottle caps. I'm glad we were able to end on it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it would get a 6 out of 6 before rewatching it, but I'm fully comfortable giving it a 6 out of 6 bottle caps.
Easily.
One of my favorite zombie movies, and that says a lot because I'm a pretty big zombie head. I do say so myself.
Guy likes the zombies.
I like the zombies. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's it, right?
Yeah,
It's the end of our Not So Sober October.
it is. It's the end of the journey for this year.
This is the end of our One Reel In Horror-thon.
The end.
You got anything else to say to the folks out there about any of the movies we watched or this journey over the month of October?
Yeah, I have 2 things to say. Watch all the movies that we did, because for better or for worse, all of them are worth watching.
Sure.
And I know that we were really harsh on Possession,
Yeah.
but even Possession, I think we even said that it's worth the watch.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah. That's not
So-
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth the watch. I think all 4 movies that we did this month are, you know, to varying degrees. Jesus Christ, come down like it's a stampede. Go that way. Yeah, all of the movies that we've done are worth the watch.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any suggestions on movies that we should watch next year, because we can watch. I mean, we'll do classic movies,
Sure.
do movies that we're probably. Well, obviously, when we come back around to this next year, try to balance it with, like, I think what we did this year was good. We did like, you know, really weird kind of esoteric one. We did a very modern,
Yeah.
very well received movie.
Sure.
Kind of goofy movie, and then like a B movie.
We can watch.
classic.
We can watch a very goofy movie.
We could watch a very goofy,
Yeah.
an extremely goofy movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an extremely goofy movie.
Let's roll it back a little bit. Let's do a very goofy movie.
Okay, yeah, we'll do very good.
A kind of goofy movie.
Kind of a sort of goofy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say watch all of them, and if you have suggestions on what we should do next year, we're all ears. That would be what
I
last
agree.
thing I have to say.
I agree. We will be back next week with a regular One Beer In podcast. But you know, expect to hear from us soon about some more One Reel Ins, because I think we have a few things in the can that are ready to rap and roll.
Rip, rap, and roll. Got some shit.
Yeah. But thank you all again for joining us on this journey. I always appreciate your time. And as Marco said, let us know what you think. Please let us know how we can improve this thing.
Yeah.
Let us know what you want us to watch.
Yeah.
And what you want us to drink.
Yeah.
That being said, I would like to wish you a good evening.
Good evening.
That's all. That's all. That's all. We need to get ourselves a treat.